and good evening. India's Cricket World Cup campaign has suffered a bit of a setback with in-form opener Shikhar Dhawan ruled out. Wicket-keeper and explosive batsman Rishabh Pant to take his place in the squad. We'll get you more on this in Newsnight tonight, straight from London as well. I'm Gautam Roy. We'll also be talking about the issue of one nation, one election, which was extensively discussed in an all-party meeting called by Prime Minister Modi today. But first, our headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi decides to set up a committee on one nation, one election. Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh says most parties which attended the meeting chaired by the Prime Minister assured support to the proposal of simultaneous elections. BJP's Om Birla unanimously elected the new Lok Sabha Speaker. Opposition parties support his candidature. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says Jan Seva has been the focal point of the politics of Om Birla. He is a compassionate leader who will preside over the sittings of the House. President Ramnath Kovind to address the joint sitting of both houses of Parliament tomorrow. President's address gives a roadmap for the coming year with a comprehensive framework of the government's agenda, highlighting policy priorities and plans. Encephalitis toll rises to 114 in Bihar. Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan directs for 5 teams of senior pediatricians and paramedics to be sent to Muzaffarpur immediately. The Supreme Court to hear on the 24th of June plea on encephalitis outbreak. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman reviews state of the economy at the meeting of the Financial Stability and Development Council. Sectoral regulators including RBI Governor Shaktikant Das attend the meet. Says proposals relating to the budget were discussed. India enters into agreement with Bangladesh and South Korea for telecast of DD India channel in the two Asian countries. Bangladesh's official channel and South Korea's KBS to be available in India. US President Donald Trump launches his re-election campaign for the upcoming US polls in 2020 with a mega rally in Orlando. And it's a major setback for Team India. Opener Shikhar Dhawan ruled out of the tournament due to a thumb injury. Wicketkeeper batsman Rishabh Pant to replace Dhawan in the Indian squad. Well, after implementing one nation, one tax GST reform, the Modi government has renewed its efforts to ensure one nation, one election. Prime Minister Narendra Modi mooted the idea during his last tenure in 2016, and today he initiated the process of taking a definitive step towards landmark change by holding an all-party meeting on this issue as well as other key national considerations. The outcome of the meeting is the setting up of a committee to examine the one nation, one election issue further. Here are the details.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi held an all-party meeting on Wednesday in line with his government's policy to take the opposition on board on all issues of national import. The agenda of the meeting included deliberating the one nation, one election issue, apart from increasing productivity in Parliament, action plan for building a new India by the 75th year of the country's independence in 2022 and Mahatma Gandhi's 150th birth anniversary this year. The issue that occupied the attention of the participants the most during the nearly 4-hour-long meeting was holding simultaneous elections. The Prime Minister has been raising the issue since 2016 on several public forums, and all the party meet participants discussed the matter exhaustively. The government said most of the 24 participating political parties were in favor of simultaneous polls, while some questioned its modalities. The PM decided to form a committee to consider the matter in detail.
एक देश एक चुनाव के मुद्दे पर अपना समर्थन दिया है। थोड़ी बहुत डिफरेंस ऑफ ओपिनियन सीपीआई सीपीएम के रही है यह कैसे होगा इसके, लेकिन इसका उन्होंने विरोध नहीं किया कि वन नेशन और वन इलेक्शन नहीं होना चाहिए, इसका सीधा अपोज नहीं किया, लेकिन उन्होंने इसके संबंध में आशंका व्यक्त की इसे आप कैसे लागू करेंगे। और बैठक में यह भी निर्णय लिया गया और प्रधानमंत्री जी ने अपने उद्बोधन में यह कहा कि इस संबंध में एक कमेटी का गठन किया जाएगा जो निर्धारित सीमा में इससे जुड़े सभी पक्षों पर विचार करके अपने सुझाव देगी।
My party is supporting the idea of one nation, one election.
आज हमें इस बात का खुशी है कि जितने भी राजनीतिक दल थे सब लोगों ने क्या कहते हैं कि सपोर्ट किया वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन का, और जिसमें मानते हैं कि नीतीश जी भी थे, लोजपा भी थी, उधर क्या कहते हैं कि अपने आंध्र प्रदेश के चीफ मिनिस्टर थे, TRS से थे, सारे के सारे लोगों ने जो है सो सपोर्ट किया।
At the moment, we think we oppose this because we think it's both anti-democratic, anti-federal, and therefore this is something not feasible.
One nation, one election has quite a few considerations in its favour. Simultaneous elections would save both money and time. The impact on government's decision-making and policy implementation would be minimised, and governments will have more leeway in long-term policy planning, gaining freedom from short-term electoral concerns. Apart from simultaneous polls, the meeting also discussed the celebration of Mahatma Gandhi's 150th birth anniversary this year, increasing productivity in Parliament and assessment of aspirational districts. There was unanimous support for increasing productivity in Parliament. Around half of the Lok Sabha members are first-timers, and it was also hoped that they will contribute meaningfully to the proceedings.
मैं ये कह सकता हूं कि संसद की प्रोडक्टिविटी बढ़ाने के विषय पर सभी राजनीतिक दलों में एक आम सहमति थी, और बैठक में मौजूद सदस्यों का यह मानना था कि संसद में संवाद और वार्तालाप का माहौल ये बने रहना चाहिए। यह भी उम्मीद व्यक्त की गई कि 17वीं लोकसभा के लगभग आधे ऐसे सदस्य हैं जो पहली बार निर्वाचित हुए हैं, और वे इस अवसर का पूरा लाभ उठाते हुए सार्थक संवाद की भावना को सदन में आगे बढ़ाएंगे।
The Prime Minister said that the 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi isn't merely an event. Mahatma Gandhi's ideas remain contextual even today. He also said that these issues are not just the government's but the nation's. He said the government wants to move forward, taking all political parties into confidence. Water conservation was taken up during the deliberations, and the PM laid emphasis on saving water. A total of 24 political parties took part in the deliberations out of 40 invitees. 21 sent in the top leaders and 3 sent in the written responses as the leaders were unable to attend. With Parliament Team, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
And that brings up our in focus tonight, which is One Nation, One Election clarion call. And to talk about it, we have Shekhar Iyer, senior journalist in our studio, and we're also joined by Shailendra Mishra, my colleague who is covering that all-party meeting. Shailendra, if I could come to you first, just want to know this committee that will be formed. It's still to be announced, and the PM will decide on it, and it will be in a time-bound manner that it will go into all the aspects that have been raised as far as this all-party meeting is concerned, vis-a-vis One Nation, One Election. How do you think the road ahead will really be laid out now?
देखिए, बिल्कुल आज की जो बैठक हुई उसमें विचार आया विभिन्न राजनीतिक दलों की तरफ से कि इस मुद्दे पर व्यापक विचार विमर्श होना चाहिए कि क्या चुनौती सामने आ सकती है, और जो चिंताएं हैं उन पर भी व्यापक विचार विमर्श होना चाहिए। इसको लेकर ये फैसला किया गया। प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी ने एक कमेटी बनाने का फैसला किया, और वो जो समिति समयबद्ध एक टाइम बाउंड मैनर में सुझाव देगी और व्यापक विचार विमर्श करेगी। कमेटी का ऐलान कुछ दिनों में किया जाएगा। तो निश्चित तौर पर कह सकते हैं कि वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन की तरफ एक बहुत बड़ा कदम आगे बढ़ाया गया। आज की जो बैठक हुई इसमें अगर सीपीएम सीपीआई को छोड़ दें तो जो तमाम राजनीतिक दल इस बैठक में शामिल हुए, सभी इस कॉन्सेप्ट, इस आइडिया के समर्थन में थे। कई दल लगातार इस बात पर भी जोर दे रहे थे कि कैसे इसे जल्दी से जल्दी लागू किया जाए, उस ओर आगे बढ़ना चाहिए और उस पर विचार किया जाना चाहिए, चाहे अकाली दल हो, लोजपा हो। उन्होंने यहां तक कहा कि जितनी जल्दी हो सके इस आइडिया को अमली जामा पहनाने के लिए आगे बढ़ना चाहिए, और जो कमेटी बनेगी उस तय समय में विचार विमर्श कर अपनी रिपोर्ट देगी। कमेटी का ऐलान कुछ दिनों में कर दिया जाएगा। तो निश्चित तौर पर कह सकते हैं कि एक बहुत आगे फॉरवर्ड मूवमेंट इस मामले को लेकर हुआ है। और जैसा कि प्रधानमंत्री ने कहा कि दरअसल ये किसी पार्टी का या सरकार का आइडिया नहीं है, देश का एक एजेंडा है, देश का एक विचार है और सभी को मिल बैठकर व्यापक विचार विमर्श करके इस पर आगे बढ़ने की कोशिश करनी चाहिए। तो एक कह सकते हैं कि आज की जो बैठक उसमें मोटे तौर पर इस आइडिया को एक समर्थन मिला है तकरीबन सभी प्रमुख राजनीतिक दलों द्वारा। जी,
और भी बातचीत हुई दूसरे मसलों को लेकर, जिसमें जो कि अब बजट सेशन शुरू हुआ है संसद का, उसके ऊपर भी उसका प्रभाव पड़ेगा। उसे लेकर किस तरह की सकारात्मक संदेश या एक तरह से इंडिकेशंस मिले हैं इस बैठक से?
ये देखिए, संसद की प्रोडक्टिविटी किस तरह से बढ़े, जिससे राजनेताओं की जो इमेज है वो भी सुधरे और लोकतंत्र में जो संसदीय लोकतंत्र है वो और मजबूती से जनता के सामने आए, जो नेताओं की जो छवि है वो भी सुधरे। किस तरह से प्रोडक्टिविटी बढ़ाई जाए और लोगों को मौका मिले ज्यादा से ज्यादा बहस करने का, चर्चा करने का, जो जिसके लिए संसद में तमाम जो अहम विधेयक होते हैं या फिर अहम मुद्दे हैं उस पर लोग अपनी बात रख पाए, वो कैसे आगे उस पर बढ़ाया जा सकता है, इसको लेकर विस्तार से सुझाव आए। किस तरह से तमाम राजनीतिक दल के जो नेता हैं, जो अध्यक्ष इस बैठक में शामिल हुए थे, उन्होंने अपने अपने तौर पर सुझाव रखे कि ये कोशिश होनी चाहिए कि ज्यादा से ज्यादा मौका सांसदों को मिलना चाहिए बहस में हिस्सा लेने का और तमाम अहम मसलों पर विचार विमर्श का संसद के कार्रवाई के दौरान। तो उसमें तमाम सुझाव आए हैं और उस पर पूरी तरह से एक सहमति रही है कि इस पर एक कोशिश की जानी चाहिए और एक नजीर पेश की जानी चाहिए कि जो संसद में जो कार्रवाई हो सकारात्मक रूप से चल सके। इसके अलावा हम जानते हैं कि जल संरक्षण, जल को बचाने को लेकर भी चर्चा हुई और खास तौर पर कहा गया कि जो मौजूदा जो पीढ़ी है, युवा पीढ़ी और भावी पीढ़ी, वो जान पाए महात्मा गांधी के विचारों को और उसके मद्देनजर जो एक भव्य कार्यक्रम होना चाहिए। जब ये कहा जा रहा है कि 150वीं वो मनाई जाएगी तो निश्चित तौर पर उसको लेकर ये कहा गया कि इसे एक यादगार बनाने के लिए तमाम कार्यक्रम होने चाहिए। तो इन सब मुद्दों पर एक व्यापक सहमति दिखाई दी। आकांक्षी जिलों को लेकर कई राज्यों को अधिकार थोड़ा ज्यादा दिया जाए और राज्यों की जो भूमिका आकांक्षी जिलों में उस पर भी कई सुझाव राजनीतिक दलों के अध्यक्षों की तरफ से रखे गए। जी,
just stay with us, Shailendra. Let me bring in Shekhar here now. Shekhar, one nation, one election, that is an idea that the PM mooted back in 2016. It started with an interview and then in other public forums as well. He mentioned it, and now the government has taken a clear-cut step while taking as many parties as it can on board as well. What do you make of this initiative and the fact that there will now be a committee that will go into this issue threadbare?
Yeah, I think this is indeed a forward movement. As you mentioned, the Prime Minister had taken it up in the many meetings he addressed, including these all-party meetings in 2016. But before that, this was mentioned in the 2014 BJP manifesto, and it has got reiterated in 2019 Ghoshana Patra also. So therefore, this concept, as the Prime Minister has often said, there are two aspects to it. One is the idea of one nation, one poll. You know, why do we need to avoid this frequent mode of having election, either it is a parliament elections or assembly elections of one state or the other happening, which has been a kind of I would say a political handicap, because no party wants to take some hard decisions if they are in power, either in state or in the center, which they feel could be unpopular but are necessary. So therefore, you know, just because elections are happening, you know, things go into a pause mode. The Prime Minister feels that the time has come that, you know, we should have a system where we have elections at a particular time, we go to the people with our policies and programs, get our mandate, either for running the state government or for the center, and then on the basis of that you seek a mandate again, or people decide to have a different government. So that because instead of having a constant parties only thinking about elections, because this is one aspect. Now the second thing which is coming out today is how do you implement it? You see, that's a bigger question. So some of the parties today, see, some parties are opposed to the idea altogether, like CPM and CPI, and also the parties which did not attend the meeting.
Yes.
Saying that we at least Mamata Banerjee wanted a kind of white paper or whatever, but in the case of Mayawati we saw reaction. Akhilesh Yadav or Congress I mean, they did not want to get into this issue. Now, the second aspect, as I said, is about how to implement it. Now, this requires some amendment of the constitution, because one thing you have to ensure is that House
I think
has
at least 5 constitutional amendments are required, apart from the representation of the people.
Yeah, and the basic thing that is very important through this amendment is to ensure that the houses have a fixed tenure. No matter what happens, that house will remain. Now, let's say there is a problem in a party which is ruling, and then there is a kind of instability, but that particular house will not be dissolved. Now, this is the implementation part of it, for which today, as the Prime Minister announced, a committee is being set up which will go into actual problems in implementing it. Because how do you do it? From which years will be the cutoff year? If you are going to keep a cutoff year, say, what happens with those states which are already on that election mode are going to go to polls before that cutoff date? And what about those states which are having elections after the cutoff date? So these are some practical problems. But on the political necessity, on the financial necessity, I can see today most of the parties feel, yes, this is a good idea and this will save money, because not only the parties, the government machinery spends so much of time, and some people were worried that, you know, if the elections are held together, the people will be confused. That has been proved wrong this time when we saw.
We've seen Andhra Pradesh.
Yeah, you saw Andhra Pradesh and Odisha, which had some elections where people have, you know, chosen differently. So therefore, it's an idea whose time has come. And we can see that there will be more discussion among parties, and those parties who are, you know, who are looking purely at the viability from in terms of their own election prospects, you know, as to, you know, if there are frequent elections, perhaps it gives them the chance to revive and again show that, you know, that they can win the next election. So that's purely from a election winnability point, rather than on the broader aspects which we have discussed today.
Let's also talk about, you know, you said the CPM, CPI oppose it forthright because they say it's anti-federal. Now that is something because there's a fear factor of Article 356, but if the option of keeping a house going, even if the majority of a particular government is lost, you know, and looking for an alternative government, then that sort of negates the possibility of Article 356 imposition.
You see, the argument that what these parties were opposing the idea, they are saying is, look, if a situation arises where the government cannot, even loses majority, then there should be an option to go back to the people. Let the people again elect another house.
For the remainder of the term?
I mean, one proposal is the remainder of the house, or as and when, you know, it happens that it is felt the house has to dissolve. No, but I think if you look at the pattern that is followed in some of the parliaments in Europe, where there is a fixed tenure. See, even as of now also, if you look at it, the person who is chosen,
Germany.
Yeah, Germany is a good example, and the person who is chosen to be is invited to become Prime Minister or Chief Minister, even in our case, is a person who enjoys the majority in the House. The invitation from the President or the Governor, as the case may be, goes to the individual. It's not to a political party. So therefore, we already have a system where the House has to express confidence in one particular individual, who may be a member of the House or may not be a member of the House, but may have to become a member of the House later.
Yes.
Now, what is, you know, a forward-moving idea would be, you keep the permanency of that house for that period it was elected, and if a particular leader doesn't have the confidence of the majority of the members, perhaps
then
the house can get an
leader.
opportunity to choose another leader.
Yeah.
Of course, that would also require you have to take a look at the anti-defection laws and about the issuing of whip, because if the permanency
So
of the house,
anti-defection comes into picture only when you choose a leader different from the party that was in power. If it's the same party but a different leader, then it's not.
no, but you know, there are genuine issues. I think there are genuine issues. Because if you are going to let
different permutations.
Yeah, if you are going to allow the members of the particular house to decide on who should lead the government,
yes, because
you have to guarantee some amount of freedom.
Because there are suggestions from people like Yogendra Yadav that why go for one nation, one election, just you know, have some reform of the moral code of conduct, make it less stringent, let governments both centre and states have more leeway in terms of doing what they're meant to do, which is their work, and not be confined by the moral code of conduct.
Yeah, but model code came after all on the basis of a consensus which was evolved by the Election Commission after talking to the political parties. It was felt the party which is in power should not have undue advantage, at the time of election. The basic idea of model code, which is again not a very, it's a code that is accepted by the parties and which has been endorsed by the Supreme Court. So,
but today, Shekhar, there's no doubt that it's a day that is quite a milestone, because it starts a formalized debate. Otherwise, there's been a lot of talk in different forums, but nothing moving one way or the other. Now we know, after this committee's deliberations, whether things are moving forward, or are we going to remain the way we are?
Yeah, indeed, I think this is a very good first step, because these ideas will have to be concretized. There will be several discussion papers which will be circulated to not just the political parties, to different sections of the society. You will have the academic people commenting on that. You will have political scientists talking about it. I think there will be a wide debate as to what are the ideas that can be considered, that are workable and which is very free and fair to our system of parliamentary democracy.
Right. Let me bring in Shailendra again, because of course the big question now is who will be part of this committee. Shailendra, कुछ जानकारी इस बारे में अभी आधिकारिक तौर पर तो कुछ सामने आया नहीं है, लेकिन कुछ कयास जरूर लग रहे होंगे।
देखिए, प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जल्द ही इस कमेटी का गठन करेंगे, ऐसा बताया गया है। बैठक के बाद उम्मीद यह है कि जो कमेटी बनेगी उसमें तमाम एक्सपर्ट शामिल किया जा सकते हैं, और दरअसल किस तरह से इम्प्लीमेंटेशन पार्ट में किस तरह से आगे बढ़ा जाएगा और चर्चा कर उसमें जो तमाम चुनौतियां हैं उस पर विचार विमर्श होना और समयबद्ध तरीके से सिफारिशें भी देनी है। तो निश्चित तौर पर थोड़ा इंतजार करना होगा कि कौन कौन इस कमेटी का सदस्य होगा, लेकिन कहा जा रहा है कि तमाम संविधान एक्सपर्ट और तमाम लोग इसमें शामिल हो सकते हैं और तमाम राजनीतिक दलों से ये कमेटी चर्चा करेगी। तो निश्चित तौर पर इंतजार करना होगा, चूंकि इस कमेटी में कौन कौन होंगे इस बारे में कोई जानकारी नहीं दी गई।
लेकिन एक तरह से प्रोफाइल लगता है कि सामने आ रहा है कि किस तरह के लोग हो सकते हैं। शेखर, what do you make of what kind of shape and form this committee might take?
Well, it will have a varied section. I would expect political leaders to be part of it. Maybe one or two chief ministers can be part of it. Apart from that, there will be constitutional experts.
There could be representation from other political parties as well.
And there will be legal experts also, and people, some of the retired secretary generals of the two houses will also be involved, so that it will have a fair representation of, so that we get to discuss a lot of ideas. And initially probably this committee would come with a set of discussion papers, which will be further deliberated by the parties, because I would expect the Prime Minister to hold further consultation on the basis of whatever the committee is mandated to produce.
And it will be time bound as well. That's been very clearly said, that it will have to produce whatever it has to produce, its deliberations in a time bound manner.
Yeah, I think I am expecting these ideas to actually a lot of incubation to take place, and by the same, when we are going to celebrate 75 years of independence, that's in the year 2022, our Prime Minister may desire that there are some very, very concrete proposals to bring these big changes in the way we have these elections and the issue of governance, because basically it is about the issue of governance, because the Prime Minister has always maintained, as we saw even today when he was felicitating the Speaker, the new Speaker Om Birla, he kept on saying, look, a lot of the politics will have to do with elections, but a lot of our political life, our purpose and our the very fact that we have come into politics is a lot to do with, we have to deliver to the people. So we cannot allow a situation where our energies are are kind of dissipated on other things,
right?
Because we have to keep that in mind. This is about getting the delivery system in order and getting the endorsement of the people and winning the people's mandate to carry forward things.
Naturally, and that is a task that the PM has constantly focused on, and he wants to focus more on it, which is why this one nation, one election clarion call, and we'll have to wait and see what further emerges on this from in fact, the start, which is of course the appointment of these committees, this committee's members, which has been decided to be formed today, and we'll take it from there. Thanks a lot for joining us today and talking about this, Shekhar Iyer and my colleague Shailendra Mishra. All right, now moving on, BJP MP from Kota, Om Birla, has been unanimously elected as the Speaker of the 17th Lok Sabha. All major political parties supported the motion moved by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. More in this report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi and leaders of other political parties greeting Om Birla, the newly elected Speaker of Lok Sabha, after his election. The second time MP from Kota Bundi Parliamentary Constituency of Rajasthan was on Wednesday elected Speaker of the lower house unopposed. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and several other leaders proposed the name of Om Birla, while many others seconded it.
मैं प्रस्ताव करता हूं कि श्री ओम बिरला वे सभा के सदस्य हैं, कोई सभा के अध्यक्ष के रूप में चुना जाए।
The House elected Birla as its Speaker with a voice vote, and Pro Tem Speaker Virendra Kumar made the formal announcement.
श्री ओम बिरला जो इस सभा के सदस्य हैं, कोई सभा के अध्यक्ष के रूप में चुना जाए। जो सदस्य पक्ष में हैं वो कृपया हाँ कहें, जो सदस्य पक्ष में नहीं है वो कृपया नहीं कहें। मेरे विचार से निर्णय हाँ वालों के पक्ष में हुआ है, निर्णय हाँ वालों के पक्ष में हुआ है। प्रस्ताव स्वीकृत हुआ।
After his election, Prime Minister Narendra Modi led the Speaker to the presiding officer's chair. The Prime Minister heaped praise on Om Birla's long public life and expressed confidence that he will run the House smoothly and effectively.
ऐसा एक संवेदनशील व्यक्तित्व आज जब स्पीकर पद पर हम सबको अनुशासित भी करेंगे, अनुप्रेरित भी करेंगे, एक पदासीन के जिम्मेवारी के रूप में और सालों की सामाजिक संवेदना वाली जिंदगी जीते के कारण मुझे विश्वास है कि उत्तम तरीके से इस चीजों को कर पाएंगे।
The Prime Minister assured the Speaker of full support on behalf of the government and the Treasury benches in conducting the House. He added that the chair must be tough even if anyone from the Treasury benches crosses the limit.
आपके काम को सरल करने में हम जो भी भूमिका हमारे जिम्मे होगी उसको 100% पूर्ण करने का प्रयास करेंगे और आपका हक बना रहेगा कि इस बेंच तरफ भी अगर नियमों का उल्लंघन होता है, व्यवस्थाओं में बाधाएं पैदा की जाती हैं, तो आपका पूरा हक बनेगा कि हमको भी, हमारे तरफ के लोगों को भी आप उतने ही मक्कमता से, आग्रहता से कहें, हम उसका स्वागत करेंगे, क्योंकि सदन की गरिमा बनाना हम सबका योगदान रहना यह आवश्यक है।
Leaders of various political parties also greeted the new presiding officer and assured him of their support.
आपकी माध्यम से मैं माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी को ऐसा दिलाता हूं कि हमारे पार्टी की नियत बड़ा साफ है। हम डिबेट, डिसेंट और डिसीजन में यकीन रखते हैं, भरोसा रखते हैं। हम कभी वेल में नहीं आते हैं, हम कभी हाउस डिसरप्ट नहीं करते हैं। हम केवल जो नवीन पटनायक जी ने हमें सीख दी है कि आप हाउस में डिबेट और डिस्कशन करिए, डिसरप्शन नहीं, ये हमारा स्वभाव मोटो है। तो हमारी तरफ से आपको कभी कोई यहाँ हाउस में तकलीफ नहीं होने वाली है।
आपका राज्य है राजस्थान, आपका राज्य है राजस्थान, लेकिन लोकसभा की आप बन गए हैं जान। भारत की हमें बढ़ानी है शान, भारत की हमें बढ़ानी है शान। लोकसभा चलाने के लिए आप जैसा परफेक्ट है मैन।
Lok Sabha Speaker also assured the members that he will run the House impartially and will protect interests of all the members.
मुझे आशा है कि सभी माननीय सदस्य इस जो जिम्मेदारी आपने मुझे दी है, मैं आप सबकी जिम्मेदारी को ठीक से निर्वहन कर सकूं, निष्पक्ष रूप से, निर्बाध रूप से निभाने की कोशिश करूंगा।
From the Hadoti region of Rajasthan to a key constitutional office of the country, Om Birla has come a long way. Om Birla represented the Kota South seat in the Rajasthan Assembly thrice. In 2003, he was appointed Parliamentary Secretary in Vasundhara Raje government. In 2014, BJP fielded him from the Kota Bundi Parliamentary constituency and he made it to the Lok Sabha for the first time. 56-year-old Birla has entered the Lok Sabha for the second time. He is known for his work in the field of environment protection. His work under the Green Quota mission has been widely lauded and appreciated. Lok Sabha Speaker has a key role in the smooth functioning of Parliament. Om Birla's unopposed election as Speaker reflected a rare camaraderie in the Lok Sabha, with members of all political parties assuring him of support in smooth conduct of the House. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
President Ramnath Kovind will be addressing the joint sitting of the two houses of Parliament tomorrow ahead of the presentation of the Union Budget next month. The President's address will give a blueprint of the government's policies and plans for the coming year and even beyond. Here's more.
Article 87 of the Constitution mentions two situations when the President will address a joint sitting of both Houses of Parliament. This happens on the commencement of the first session after a general election and at the beginning of the first session of each year. The President's address gives a roadmap for the coming year with a comprehensive framework of government agenda highlighting policy priorities and plans. Members of both Houses of Parliament gather in the Central Hall for the President's address. The first rows are reserved for the Prime Minister, Cabinet Ministers, Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha, Vice Chairman of Rajya Sabha and Leader of Opposition. The President arrives at Parliament House and is greeted by the Vice President, who is also the Chairman of the Rajya Sabha, along with the Lok Sabha Speaker and the Prime Minister. The Parliamentary Affairs Minister and General Secretaries of both Houses also welcome the President, who is ceremonially led to the Central Hall in a procession. The entire route of the procession is red carpeted. The President then takes his seat in the middle of the dais, flanked by the Vice President on his right and the Speaker of the Lok Sabha on his left. The President's address is read out either in Hindi or in English. The Rajya Sabha Chairman then reads the summary of the speech in the other language. The President is thanked for his address, which is moved as a motion and discussed in both houses separately. Parliament Bureau, DD News.
BJP Working President JP Nadda held a meeting with office bearers of the party at the party headquarters today. Several important issues were discussed, starting from the party's membership drive to 3 upcoming state elections. Now, the outbreak of acute encephalitis syndrome or AES in Bihar's Muzaffarpur and several other areas is claiming more lives of innocent children each passing day. 114 have died in Muzaffarpur alone and more patients keep coming into hospitals. While the centre and state governments have taken several steps to stem the flow of sick children and to prevent the loss of lives, public interest litigations have been filed in both the Patna High Court as well as the Supreme Court, seeking judicial intervention in the situation.
The health crisis due to acute encephalitis syndrome in some districts of Bihar is far from over. 114 children have succumbed to it in Muzaffarpur, even as children afflicted by AES continue to pour into hospitals. Death toll of children affected by AES in Muzaffarpur Medical College and Kejriwal Hospital has reached 114 and around 300 children have taken ill so far. Prompt treatment with parents rushing their children to hospitals early is saving lives.
बच्चे उनके परिजन जो हैं बच्चों को लेकर जल्द अस्पताल आ जा रहा है, इसीलिए मेरा रिकवरी का रेट बढ़ रहा है, क्योंकि जो डिलेड आते थे कोई से ये कराना झराना फुकाना वो छोड़ के अस्पताल पहुंच रहे हैं. ये अच्छी बात है. अगर पहुंचे लोड मेरा बढ़ेगा, लेकिन वो ये हो के स्वच्छ होके सुधर के इलाजरत रह के चले जाएंगे. एडमिशन तो ऑलमोस्ट एक ही है, कल भी 36 थे और अभी तक हम 22 हो चुके.
Parents who have lost their votes to the epidemic are inconsolable. The rising death toll of children has led to widespread concern. The Bihar government has decided to send doctors from Darbhanga and Patna Medical College hospitals to Muzaffarpur for treatment of children affected by AES.
उनको हर संभव सहायता करने के लिए डॉक्टर, दवा, भोजन और सारा व्यवस्था की गई जा करके है। और मैं समझता हूं कि सरकार के द्वारा लगातार इसकी मॉनिटरिंग भी की जा रही है, जो हमारे मुख्य सचिव हैं और अधिकारी भी कर रहे हैं। माननीय मुख्यमंत्री स्वयं गए भी थे जा करके, तो सरकार ने गंभीरता से लिया जा करके और आशा करते हैं जल्द ही इस बीमारी पर अंकुश ले लिया जाए।
The epidemic has spread to Begusarai, where 16 children are affected by it, 6 of whom have died. While 4 children are being treated in hospitals, 2 have been referred to Patna.
2 बच्चे, एक तो ड्राइविंग पर आया था, जो इंसेफ्लाइटिस वाला था, चमकी बुखार जो करते हैं, तो उसकी तो मौत हो गई। और बाकी जो हमने रिपोर्ट भेजा था, जो 4 बच्चे की 2 बंगला के लिए एक खुरामतपुर का था, एक और कहीं का था, जो कि अपने जीवन में उसकी भी मृत्यु हो गई।
Meanwhile, the Supreme Court agreed to hear a plea seeking a direction to the centre to urgently constitute a team of medical experts for treatment of children suffering from suspected acute encephalitis syndrome in Muzaffarpur on Monday. Another PIL was filed in the Patna High Court. Preventive measures are being taken by governments of Jharkhand and Rajasthan too. Meanwhile, the centre has directed for 5 teams of senior pediatricians and paramedics to be sent to Muzaffarpur immediately to further strengthen the state's efforts and measures in the affected districts. A high-level central team has been permanently stationed in the area to monitor the operations since the past 3 days. The centre is providing all possible help to Bihar government to deal with the situation. With inputs from Kumar Alok and Bihar Bureau, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Now, the weather has been a mixed bag the last couple of days. While Cyclone Bayo spared the Gujarat coast, much to everyone's relief, heat wave conditions still persist in several parts of the country. Depleting water supply too has become an emerging concern in places like Tamil Nadu, Vidarbha and other parts of central India. Cloud cover and rains are keeping the conditions tolerable in some other parts, but there are a few areas where heavy rains have already started causing problems. Maximum temperatures in most parts of the country remained within comfortable limits on Wednesday, with sporadic rains in several areas, even though heat wave conditions were observed in some southern states and in Bihar. In the national capital and adjoining areas, the sky remained mostly clear and the maximum temperature rose slightly to settle at 36.8 degrees Celsius. Sporadic rains and windy conditions had kept the mercury in check for around 3 days in New Delhi. Day temperature fell in several parts of Uttar Pradesh after light showers and thunderstorms occurred at isolated places. For tonight, the Met Department has forecast heat wave conditions in some parts over Vidarbha and coastal Andhra Pradesh and Yeram, and in isolated pockets over Telangana, Rayalaseema, Gangetic West Bengal, Bihar and Tamil Nadu, Puducherry as well as Karaikal. It has also predicted heat wave conditions in some parts of Tamil Nadu, Puducherry, Karaikal, Vidarbha, coastal Andhra Pradesh and Yeram for tomorrow. Now, the BSE Sensex ended the day marginally higher after a roller coaster session as investors largely remained on the sidelines ahead of the US Fed's interest rate decision. After rallying nearly 400 points during the day, the BSE settled at 66.40 or 0.17% higher at 39,112.74. The broader NSE Nifty closed almost flat at 11,691.45. Sectorally, BSE Realty, Consumer Durables, Metal, Power, Utilities and FMCG indices ended up to 1.2% higher, but Healthcare, Auto, Telecom, Industrials, Oil and Gas and even Energy lost up to 1.49%. And time now to turn to all the sports update. First up, all your latest from the Cricket World Cup ongoing in the UK. Well, the bad news first. Well, Shikhar Dhawan has been ruled out of the remainder of the ICC Cricket World Cup 2019 after picking up a hairline fracture on his left thumb in the win against Australia on the 9th of June. Rishabh Pant, who had initially been named as a cover for the left-handed opener, has now been named as a replacement. Despite the blow to the thumb against Australia, Dhawan continued to bat and scored 117 runs. He suffered the injury after being hit by a Pat Cummins bouncer against Australia. An official request has been made to ICC to replace Shikhar with Rishabh Pant in the World Cup squad.
Shikhar has a fracture of the base of his first metacarpal on his left hand. Now, following several specialist opinions, he will remain on task until July, mid-July, which rules him out of the ICC World Cup 2019. He's ruled out, and we have requested for a replacement. I've written to ICC. We have requested for Rishabh Pant as a replacement.
Alright, New Zealand skipper Kane Williamson won the toss and elected to field against South Africa in their rain-hit World Cup match. New Zealand team remained unchanged while South Africa brought in Lungi Njidi in place of Hendricks. Earlier, rain ensured the match started late and got reduced to 49 overs each. South Africa started poorly after losing the toss and batting first and set a target of 242 for New Zealand to win in 49 overs. South Africa were batting under overcast skies and on a tricky pitch. Bold got rid of de Kock, and then Henry and Ferguson did not allow Faf du Plessis and Hashim Amla to break free. Amla crawled to a 50, and as he departed, South Africa found no momentum in the side, and despite a scratchy performance by New Zealand on the field, their bowlers did a brilliant job by restricting South Africa to what looks like a below par total. Dawson was the star with the bat as he batted through to the end, and a few lusty hits later on helped South Africa post their competitive total on the board. Now, chasing the target set by the Proteas of 242 in 49 overs, New Zealand has so far scored 74 for the loss of 2 wickets in the 16th over. So they seem to be on target, and this is a do or die match for South Africa, considering that if they lose this one, they're probably out of the World Cup. And buoyed by the emphatic win over West Indies, Bangladesh cricket team will be brimming with confidence when they face a stiff test against Australia in their crucial World Cup fixture at Trent Bridge on Thursday.
Australia is doing what it does best at the World Cups: dominate. Mitchell Starc and Pat Cummins are proving to be a nightmare to face. Aaron Finch and David Warner have been providing solid starts, and Steve Smith has been a rock in the middle order. At present, it's difficult to see how Australia don't make the final four. Bangladesh, meanwhile, is leaving behind its own trail in the tournament. The team has lost as many as it has won, but the players have been clinical in the 2 games that they have ended up on the right side of the result and absolutely pushed New Zealand to the brink before coming up short. After bossing West Indies in a chase of 322 in Taunton, they need to repeat all the things they did right in that game and more against a top-flight opposition in Australia. There could be some scattered showers in Nottingham on Thursday, but they will be accompanied by a gentle breeze, which could help in keeping interruptions to a minimum. Chances of rain gradually go down as the day progresses. In head-to-head, Australia is ahead of Bangladesh. Both teams have faced each other in 21 one-day internationals. Of these, Australia has won 18, whereas Bangladesh has managed to win just 1, while 2 matches have ended in no result. Mashrafe Murtaza's men have been excellent so far, but can they live up to the challenge of competing against a 5-time champion?
Australia will look to dominate in that outing against Bangladesh and notch 2 points to take their campaign or their points tally to 10 points. For Bangladesh, they've had a good run. They've surprised a team or two in this World Cup and will be looking to inspire themselves to cause a big upset against the Aussies. With camera person S. Jaishankar, Anil Thomas, DD News, Nottingham.
Sports Minister Kiran Rijiju today interacted with the Indian archers and assured that the government will provide adequate funds for their training ahead. The Indian archery team returned with 3 medals, including a silver and 2 bronze from the recently concluded World Championship in the Netherlands. On this moment, our correspondent has a special conversation with the Sports Minister.
हमारा मैन एंड वुमेन टीम अभी वर्ल्ड चैंपियनशिप से वापस आए. मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा कि मैन तो ऑलरेडी ओलंपिक्स के लिए क्वालिफाई हो गए और एक सिल्वर और 2 ब्रॉन्ज ये भी जीत के लाए हैं. ट्रेडिशनली आर्चरी में इंडिया का टीम स्ट्रांग रहा है। हम चाहते हैं कि पूरा सपोर्ट जितना हमारा आर्चर्स है और जो बाकी खिलाड़ियों को भी जिन्होंने भारत के लिए बहुत अच्छा प्रदर्शन किया और जो पोटेंशियल है ओलंपिक्स के लिए, तो पूरा फंडिंग अपने जो खेल मंत्रालय के माध्यम जो हम कार्यक्रम चला रहे हैं वो फंडिंग अच्छे से करेंगे। तो हमारे वुमेन टीम है जो अभी क्वालिफाई नहीं हुआ, लेकिन उनके पास भी अच्छा मौका है और मुझे यकीन है कि हमारा वुमेन टीम भी क्वालिफाई करेंगे अगले साल के टोक्यो ओलंपिक्स के लिए। और हमारा एक उम्मीद है कि आर्चरी में अगले ओलंपिक्स में हम जरूर मेडल लाएंगे।
Now the stage is set for the International Yoga Day in Ranchi on Friday. 35,000 people will do eco yoga at Prabhat Maidan. Prime Minister Modi would be leading this mega event. No plastic is the theme of eco yoga. Our correspondent spoke to Ishwar Baswa Reddy who is the director of the Bharati Desai National Institute of Yoga. Listen in.
This time the National Yoga Day is going to be very, very special, not only because the Prime Minister is coming, but also because it is going to be an eco yoga, no plastic. I have with me Mr. Ishwar Baswa Reddy, who is the director of Bharati Desai National Institute of Yoga. Let's talk to him. When we talk about eco yoga, what is it?
So one means it's always we have to go with nature. So yoga always advocates be with the nature, and that will always disease free and always healthy and happy living. That's why this time we declared that it's eco-friendly. So we are not using any plastics or any these things as an accessories. Eco-friendly accessories. All yoga accessories will be eco-friendly. We are not using any plastic and other things which are against the nature.
I have some ladies also who will be there on the platform, so let's talk to them as well. How long have you been practicing yoga?
It's 10 years back I started the yoga classes.
Which is most difficult and most easy?
If we can say that every part could be difficult to anyone, but it could be easiest, just because if you are doing with the physical and the mental, both are the balanced, it will be easy.
Pranayam plays the most important role in the summer. If you want to stay the hotness, we can do the Shitali and Sitkari Pranayam, and for the relaxation of the mind, you
How do we do Shitali? Can you just demonstrate?
This one is Shitali. And those who can't do the Shitali, they can do Sitkari.
What's so special about yoga?
So it's because of yoga, I found that my mind is very calm and relaxed.
The Prime Minister would be coming. How special is it going to be for you?
Sir, it's a very special moment for me. It's my first International Day of Yoga performance on the main stage, so it's very special for me. Yeah.
It's going to be a very, very special day. Again, going back to the ladies, the Prime Minister would be coming, so all prepared?
Yes, sir. We are ready with the great enthusiasm to do yoga practices.
So they are all ready, and so are we. So you also get up early and do not lose the opportunity, because the nation would be doing yoga and health. Stay fit is the mantra. With cameraman Rajesh Ricky in Ranchi, this is Vishal Baristo, DD News.
And that's all we have for the moment in this edition of Newsnight. For all the latest updates, you can also, well, check out our social media feeds right there on YouTube and Twitter. And of course, the big news today also is that DD India will soon be available also in South Korea and Bangladesh. We'll get you more on that a little later in our other bulletins. Thank you for watching. Good night.